Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Salman. I'm a tech product and innovation expert based out of Bangkok, and I'm currently in the middle of reinventing my life. In this channel, I talk about personal transformation and how you can accelerate your learning for a better future. And today, I'm going to talk about my single career planning strategy that I've used throughout my career to stay ahead in the competition and in the game, which you should be able to also apply as you take on the year 2021 and start planning not for your career, but for your future. As always, I'll keep all the description in the timestamp below, so feel free to jump in whichever you want to start first. So with that, let's dive into it. Now, before I walk you through the framework, let's really talk about what is the real picture in the job marketplace. Every time I talk to university students, fresh graduates, or young professionals, asking them about their career aspirations, I hear a very common narrative. The reply is, I want to be a manager or a department head of this big brand company in the place where I belong. The career aspiration and strategy is like, once we graduate, we want to get a job at a reputed company, we want great salary with a lot of benefits, we want to be promoted real fast, and eventually we want to become a manager. We want to become that department head in a company that we aspire to work for years. I don't get it. I don't understand. How do you measure your life once you've become the manager or the department head of a company? What exactly will the head of department or manager title do to your life that you cannot do without becoming one? If anything, you're going to have more headache because you are ahead now and you are having the responsibility of managing people under you than anything else. And somehow this has been the aspiration of our generation. We just want to have that title, that organizational position, which we think will fulfill our life. But I would really like you to think in a different way. Your career is not about really thinking about what you can have as a title. It's more about how much ahead you are in the game in terms of really making a difference into the job that you do, into the team that you work with, into the society where you belong. And that's exactly how I have created my framework. And I hope when I walk you through my framework and my thinking process since my university days, even till my career now, I would really hopefully be able to walk you through the mindset, the way I plan to help you also stay way ahead in the game, both in your life and also anything that you take for a personal challenge. So let's go into it. So the framework. Now, should we have a drum roll? Maybe not. So the framework is very simple, but as I walk you through the way the framework really works and the principle of the framework, you will understand it better. So bear with me. The framework is as simple as these three characters, N plus 1, where N stands for the role or the job that you will do next. If you're in a company right now, or you're planning to get into a new job in a different company, that new job or that new role within the same company is your N. It basically means your next job, your next assignment. And N plus 1 means the assignment after the next one, the job after the next one, the position, the role after the next one. And it's really easy to understand how this N plus 1 is a strategy and the way to really define yourself and to also engineer your career strategy so that it is meant to really catapult you to where you want to be, which is the N plus 1, instead of going into the N. Let me walk you through with an example. Now let's start with an example for students over here. If you're a student or even like a soon-to-be graduate, recent graduate, think about your student life or what you want to do next in your student life. When I was in my university, in my freshman year, I never thought about what I will be or what I need to be or what's going to be in my courses or my extracurricular activities or the things I wanted to do in my sophomore year, because that was the obvious next step. I always thought about using the framework N plus 1, what I want to do in my third year, which is my junior year. So while I was in my sophomore, I was already trying to map my skill set, map my expectation, map my preparation for what I need to be in my third year. so that by the time I was in my sophomore year, I was already well equipped with the skill set that I needed to have of a third year student, of a junior student. And hence, I was really outperforming many of the people in my sophomore years. In the same way, when I was in my sophomore year, most people are probably still hanging around and then playing and then just taking it a bit more silly in their university days. But for me, I was already thinking I'm a graduate, I'm soon to be a graduate. So I was thinking like a senior. So I was already really prepared for getting into the real job market and starting to really present myself with the right skill sets that I'll be needing after I graduate, because that's my final year. That's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So that's exactly is the application of N+1 for a student and how that really helped me. So I was a freshman year, and in the very freshman year, I knew that you needed to really have certain number of credits to complete in order to become a teaching assistant at a university. Now, I, being very fidgety as a person, I couldn't wait for being a third year student to have certain grades achieved and then become a TA. So what I did, I really started looking at what do TAs, the teaching assistants, really have, and started embodying those skill sets, those qualities in me from the freshman years. And the result, the very moment I walked into my sophomore year, I became the first ever business major student to be a teaching assistant in an English major department, to be the TA when I was in my 5th semester, like not even halfway through my sophomore year. So that's exactly is the application of using the N+1 to stay way ahead than most of the people who are becoming a teaching assistant in the 3rd year or in the 4th year. Let's try to give another example and see how this applies even in your professional life. Now let's give this example again using the framework for someone who is a young professional. Let's say you just graduated or you're a young professional looking at what will be your career ahead of you in 2021 or beyond 2021. You probably are scratching to think that, oh, if I'm an executive today, I want to be a senior executive tomorrow. If I'm a senior executive tomorrow, the next obvious role according to my org chart in the organization says it's an assistant manager. After that, it's a manager. After that, it's a senior manager. After that, it's a general manager. Maybe then I'm a department head. But that's exactly not how you think. You're supposed to think in the non-linear way, which is the way I have used the framework. Let's apply the framework and see what it looks like when you are seeing it in the lens of engineering it with the N+1. When you are an executive, you actually don't need to think about being a senior executive next, because the difference between an executive and senior executive is hardly anything. What you should do rather is think about what's probably after the N+1, which is you eliminate the senior executive and you think about assistant manager role as your next, and think about N+1 is your managerial role. So you aim to become a manager when you are an executive. So from the day one, you embody the skill set, the characteristics, the kind of mindset that you need in order to be a manager. So you start not only operating like a manager, you start contributing like a manager. You start really going into a meeting, not by sitting in the back thinking that I am a junior executive, so I'm not entitled to talk, I'm not entitled to contribute. Rather, you start asking questions. You start contributing with a lot of courage and a lot of boldness, and join even a big people's group or a league when you think that you're completely out of their league. And that's exactly how you not only catapult yourself, but also really show people that you're ready for it before they think, according to the organizational hierarchy, that you're ready. I've applied the same thing over and over again in my life by actually really learning things much faster. It's all about simple goal, as I said, transformation, is to accelerate your learning so that you can get to the point B from point A at a much faster time, in a more efficient way, in a much more smarter way than most people don't choose to see. So I hope you really identified how you can use this N+1 in your own career strategy planning. And if you can really use this, I would love to hear more from you as well. So now that you've learned the use of the N+1, I really think that it's time to take action. It's time to make sure that the learning is not just a learning, but you have been able to well engineer it as part of your career strategy. And to make it really easy for you, I'm going to give you a challenge to really commit to this N+1 from today. I want you to take a piece of paper and write down your N+1. Fold it in and keep it in your wallet. So that's something you can see quite often on a regular basis. And every time you see that N+1, I want you to picture what exactly are the skill sets that you need to embody in order to really be ready to do that N+1 tomorrow. Find out the delta, the differences between you today and the one that you want to be at the N+1 stage. List them out and start taking action from today. Think about a skill set you need to learn. Think about a new learning you need to have. Think about a training you need to do, or a mentoring or a coaching, whatever that's needed to be fulfilling the requirement of that N+1 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Do it today, so that when a window of opportunity will come up in the world, in your office, in another company, or anywhere in the world, or even the world moves faster and accelerates into the particular field that you're working, and suddenly there's a more vacancy of people who needs to be specialized on that particular skill set. On that day, if you are ready with that N+1 stage, you'll be the one to seize the day, and those who haven't followed will be the one really falling behind. So I really hope that this is going to be giving you a chance to commit, and to make it even more challenging for you, I'm going to ask you to use a hashtag MyN+1 and tag me on my Instagram or any other social media where you would like me to follow, so that I can see that you have fully committed and have put yourself out there. And trust me, the moment I put myself out there creating this YouTube channel is the day I learn the meaning of my commitment in a whole different dimension. So I also welcome you to also put yourself out there to the goal of life that you really want to commit yourself. And I'm sure it's going to be only opening and unlocking more doors for you in your career, but also will give you a way to start learning amazing things as you prepare yourself for the uncertainties of life. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please consider doing so. And if you also would like to get more curated emails where I talk about my personal hacks over a bi-weekly email, please consider subscribing to my newsletter. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.